Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Welcome back. Welcome to. Appreciate the support either way, cuzzies. My name is Joe Josh. I go by iChart Daily. Today is Thursday, June 5th, 2025. In today's video, I'm going to explain my thought process on how I do a technical analysis breakdown on Bitcoin and where I think potentially it could be going, why I think that, where I'm setting alerts, and what I'm doing to prepare. So, first things first, this is not financial advice. This is for educational purposes only. I have been doing this for 17, 18 years. I have been in crypto for 11 years, and I was originally taught this process by my father, who was an options trader for Stratton Oakmont. So, we're here. I trust charts over people. Step number one. We have seen a nice consolidation, right, from 112 down to 103,930 as of today. I always start long. I want to see what market structure is. I want to see what the indicators are telling me. It's the same thing over and over. It just holds more value on different time frames. I'm looking at a MACD. I'm looking at RSI, stochastic RSI, market structure, candlestick patterns. Very simple. So the first thing that I would like to look at is the RSI. Not great. I did say there was a window of opportunity to go higher, but we did need to break step one first. Step one was the 70 line. Because we have now seen this rejection, this window of opportunity is getting smaller and smaller. The window of blood is getting greater, right? What do I mean by that? Well, the 70 line is obviously the first line in the sand on an RSI that tells you if something is extremely overbought, extremely oversold. There's four sections, right? When your asset is above the 70 line, extremely overbought, but this is when you're going to get the most amount of pumpage, right? Because there's FOMO attached to these types of pumps. Best time to buy is when your RSI is above the 50 and has room to go back to the 70 and then your greed levels. Worst time to buy is when you get rejected by the 50 and you have a ton of room to bleed until you're extremely oversold, right? You wait for those levels. So the first thing I'm seeing is rejection. I'm going to set an alert at the 67.95 level, lining up with the RSI moving average, to notify me if this was just a fake out, a little consolidation, and we could somewhat form a higher low somewhat around here, and then potentially do this here, right? That's hopium. As of right now, seeing rejection, it's not the best. That's just step number one. MACD volume coming down, and we're seeing a nice red candle coming in. And because of that, you can see your weekly has seen rejection. We're seeing a number 6 on the divergences, meaning that there's 6 indicators showing you either hidden bearish or regular bearish divergence. That indicator is just spot on every single time. The higher the number, the higher the value. The longer the time frame, the higher the value. So we're seeing a 6 on the weekly, which is never a good sign. The best thing that could happen right now is the RSI does come down but stays above the 50, showing us that we could have a consolidation but we don't break 77,000. When I start zooming in, what I'm looking for is market structure changes, right? I'm looking for death crosses. I am looking for the RSI to break the moving average, which is when the baby blue breaks the yellow, because that's step number one to help me understand if we're going up, if we're forming a top, if we're going down, or if we're forming a bottom, right? Certain time frames, if they break certain levels, like if the MACD were to break the 0 line, you're going to see major blood. If your RSI was to break, if your MACD was to break the 0, if your RSI was to break the 50, if your stochastic breaks the 80, right? Stochastic is usually the first mover between the RSI and the MACD. It's a faster moving RSI, let's just say. And you can see here, when we did break down, we went flat. We have officially broken the 80. the first thing I'm looking for is what is the bottom to form the sideways channel, right? You could see here we formed the box, right? You could see here, right? We formed the box. We formed the box, right? Where is the box? The first thing I'm thinking of is now I look for liquidity. I look for liquidity, prices, candlestick patterns, wicks, where there was major buying pressure in the past. Because you could see all of these wicks here, but which one do you choose, right? Now, you could use a VPVR. You would go to your fixed range volume profile. You would go from your high to your low, and it shows you a nice visual, right? That's all you're looking to do is get a visual of where supply demand zones are. So your supply demand zones are here. Let's just say from 95,000 to about 91,000. That was why I said that days to weeks ago. And then I said after that, you know, you're 84, 85,000. I don't need to use a VPVR to see that. It comes clear to me on longer time frames, right? On a weekly time frame, you could clearly see it. Well, for me, with my experience, right? I can't assume that you guys could see this. This is a major level, right? So understanding that we're going to come back down to 92.5 and retest that has a very high probability, right? And then thereafter that, another key level. So let's draw it out, right? So you got like this level to this level. And I'm using the bottom of the candles in the wicks, which is like a range, right? 93 to 91. And then the bottom of the range could wick to the 87 to 88 because that was your, like you could see this wick here was 88.5 and this wick here was 88.5. So for us to come back down to 93 and maybe see a wick to 88.5, it's on the table. Another thing that you have to understand, and I've made a video about this in the past, trend lines go with trend indicators, right? And what is a trend indicator and a momentum indicator? It's your MACD, okay? So I want to show you something. You could see when you have death crosses, price went down, right? You had golden crosses, price went up. You had a death cross, price went down. You had a golden cross, price went up, right? Especially since it's above the 0 line, RSI is above the 50. We've been in a bull market. When does this change? Like when do we stop making higher highs and higher lows and form a top? What is a top? Let me explain that first. Well, a top is when price no longer makes a higher high and no longer makes a higher low, but continues to go sideways. Like this, okay? Like this. Hold on, let me go to a longer time frame. Okay, so let's go here, let's go here, let's go here. Right, so let me break it down to like a 3-week, okay? So this is a top, okay? This is a top, okay? This is a top, right? Price has a hard time. This is also 3 weeks, so this is 3, 6, 9 weeks of just staying between these levels. This was, forget it, from January all the way to March, right? Staying between 36 and 65,000. The most important thing is when price goes sideways, you need to identify what the indicators are telling you. Are the indicators on the 3-week, the monthly, the 2-week, are they forming hitting bearish? Is your RSI making lower highs and lower lows while your swing just went from 107 to 112? It did, right? So my point is trend lines go with trend indicator, and there is a trend line here as well, right? This trend line right here. So as of right now, if I was to just take a quick step back and look at this with all my experience, I'm assuming a stop here at the 90,000, 90,005, whatever, because it also lines up with this white trend line. Can you justify this white trend line backed up with a MACD on a longer time frame? Because you can't justify it with this because you had a death cross, a golden cross, a death cross, right? So let's go to a time frame like the monthly, where you could see here, golden cross, trend line went up, death cross, trend went down. So as of right now, yes, the RSI does not look great, but the MACD has not death crossed yet. So that tells me we could potentially still go flat. Like for instance, if we even come down and go back up, once again, this was from March 2021 to literally October, December 2021. So it could last that long. We form another maybe higher high while this forms the death cross, and then we come down closer towards the end of the year. But you have to play this out correctly. As of right now, we're looking for a consolidation. So the best thing, right, let's play devil's advocate, because, okay, I'm good at calling the next move down. I don't know what's going to happen thereafter. Like, do we break the 92,000 and head down to 75,000? That happens if the longer time frame market structure breaks down. Like if you see this break the moving average, come back down to the 60, and then we're breaking that and heading to the 50, then that shows that this could be a double top. A double top back to the 110, 112, and then, all right, so let's go worst case. Worst case scenario, this is a double top. We do something like this, we do something like this. Your 78 to 82,000 is your neckline, and we break that and head back down to 52,000. That happens if the monthly breaks down, death crosses, and your RSI breaks the moving average, heads down to the 50. If the MACD continues to stay in an uptrend like we are now, and all this is just a healthy consolidation, and we form a higher low to the 61, 64, then this pattern could potentially be somewhat bullish. This is just a consolidation. The same way that this consolidated, the same way that this consolidated, the same way that this consolidated, right? So, people don't realize we did just go from 78,000 to 112, right? We did form a higher low, and we did form a little bit of a higher high. So most bullish scenario is we do come down and form a higher low to this one here, and then we have a high probability of going back up to this level here, and then breaking it with an ascending triangle format. And this would be the breakout from here to here, and we finally go towards July, August, September to, let's just say, the 120, 130,000 level. And then at that point, then I want to see the divergences playing out. This is speculation, right? As of right now, I'm playing just for the drop. Then we need to see wicks, right? And I want to see my market bottom indicator forming hollow candles on at least the weekly. I don't care if it does it on the 4-day. The daily and longer holds more value. You could see here it was going down, showed you that the bottom was 103, and then we went to 106, and unfortunately we're seeing rejection because your 3-day is about to death cross. Your 3-day, if you remember, do me a favor, I was saying we were watching the 2-day, right? The 2-day was the earliest of the time frames that when stuff happens and you're seeing a divergence or market structure or double top or blah, 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 well, any of the formations in Technical Analysis 101, it holds value, right? And the RSI was above all the way from here, April 9th, and then we broke here, May 21st. And that's when I said I don't like it. And once we broke and we started the death cross, we went from 112 down to 104. Now, the next time frame, join the Discord, links in the description. So I'm watching the 3-day, because now the 3-day, once again, the longer we go, holds more value. 3-day broke market structure May 25th. Anyone saying you're going to get a bounce back up to the 112 or higher is going against the green, right? It's like swimming against the current. You go faster when you swim with the current, right? And all I'm looking to do is surf, okay? So we're having a death cross. This next candle prints in 7 hours, 8 minutes. So we're curious to see if we do break this 102,000 and we have room to bleed. I would put on my lovely 11 and 21-day moving average, and that shows me that if we do break, we're breaking the 103, 108, and we're heading down to the next level, which lines up with the moving average. It's visual. And now I'm going to look left and see if there's any market structure. You can see the 21-day moving average, right? Lines up with, I'm just going to draw it right here. Boom. Okay. Do you see how it was resistance, resistance, support, resistance, and now we're here. You think we have a high probability of going back to that green line and using it again, which was a trend line back 7-8 times? 100%. So another thing I want to zoom into is this looks like a head and shoulders pattern. Head and shoulders pattern right here. So we went from 93, we went up, we came down, 100,000. We went up, we came down, 102. We went up. Now this could look like a double bottom W pattern, right? But you have to confluence your daily market structure technical analysis theory confluenced with your 3, 4, and 5. So you need to understand if your 3, 4, 5, and weekly are forming a top, you shouldn't expect something like a bounce. But if your 3, 4, and 5 day are forming a golden cross and have room to grow on an RSI, well then this might just be a nice W pattern back to the 112,000. But because the 3 day, once again, you're always looking to confluence your time frame with a longer time frame. So if you're looking at the hourly and it looks bullish, I want to make sure the 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12 also look bullish. If you're coming up with the technical analysis on the daily time frame and you're looking, because this morning it looked like this was double bottoming. It looked like the 12-hour was about to golden cross. And guess what? We broke down because the 3-day looks like it's breaking market structure. And once again, a rule that I have been taught and followed for 17 years that have made me very successful is long-term trends is daily to monthly, will predict what short-term outcomes is the 4-hour down to the 1 minute, will do. And if you look bearish on these time frames, you're going to get bearish continuations on these time frames. If you're bullish on these time frames, you're going to have bullish continuations on these time frames. The longest time frame that you should be looking is potentially the 3, 4, 5, and weekly. I use the monthly for clarity, but unfortunately it takes 1 full month to print 1 candle. So you cannot trade with a monthly. But you can say if we are in an uptrend or a downtrend, depending on the monthly and the 3-week and the 2-week. As of right now, because this is pointing down, not great. And this is, again, the third time, right? Oh, sorry, second time. So 1, 2 of making a lower high. We make a lower high, we're going to come back down to this 61, and it is on the table to potentially make a lower low. That is the video. To set some alerts, I would probably set an alert here at 100 and let's just say 102.8, notifying me that we're breaking down. It does look like we're breaking down right now. The reason why is, once again, your RSI is breaking the 50 line. Nothing positive, write this down. Nothing positive comes from an RSI below the 50. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Find the ticker, find the time frame, and show me when the RSI is below the 50 and line that up with the MACD below the 0 line. That's why I made a bot, in which I'm trying to perfect and also release to you guys. Because if I could make a bot that could notify me when my conditions are playing out, it takes the filtering of the tickers off the table, right? But that's the video. I don't want to go off track too much. You could see we're down a lot, and you could see your alts are probably going to be down a lot. That's why I only want to train you guys on Bitcoin, because you don't, if you're just learning technical analysis and charting, learning how to chart is hard enough. Learning how to chart Bitcoin, its dominance, and then your coin versus the dollar, and then your coin versus Bitcoin, it's too complicated. So let's just learn how to make money and chart Bitcoin first. That's that. You could also, right, okay, so last thing I'm going to leave you with. You see how we're in the candle of the death cross? It's already too, not that it's already too late, but you need to prepare these things before they happen, right? Because these indicators are trailing. The price action happens, then the death cross happens. Price action happens, then the RSI breaks the moving average. So you need to find a happy medium between the 10-hour, the 12-hour, the daily, and the 2-day to see market structure. Because once it happens on the 2-day, the 3-day, the 4-day, the 5-day, and the weekly, you're already looking at Bitcoin down thousands of dollars, right? I mentioned it, I don't even remember when I mentioned it, but it was literally like a week or two ago that I didn't like it, right? I said that I was getting Discord messages time and emails and messages and WhatsApps, and that everyone's saying higher, but you're saying 91 to 92. And it's now potentially on the table. Once we really break this 100,000 right here, you're going to see a free fall to the 94,000 to potentially 92,000. That's the day. Oh, that's the day. How you doing? Yo, do me a favor. Give me a how you doing in the comment section. Um, funny, right? Love you guys. I appreciate the support. Any comments, questions, concerns, leave it in the comment section. I reply to everybody. If you know anyone or you're part of a group that does charting and posts videos and trying to do this stuff, I'd appreciate a share. I would. Enjoy the day. Love you guys.